The Essenes were a strictly spiritual community who were originally called the Assyrians or Ansarians, were the teachers of all the great teachers, priests, rabbis, the Messiah of the world's religions. This brotherhood lived and practiced the purity laws of the scriptures of the Most High Heavenly Father, and as such they avoided the mental, physical, spiritual and emotional contamination of the outside world. The Essenes or Assyrian Brotherhood wrote part of the Sermon on the Mount called the Beatitudes as found in Matthew 5:3-16. The Messiah Yeshua Christ was also considered to be an Essene or Assyrian, as he was also a member and lived within an Essenic community. This type of brotherhood and sisterhood begins with yourself and begins by requiring that each of us look deep within ourselves. The reason for this is that if you have the wrong idea of what happiness is or what brings happiness about, it will cause not only your personal suffering, but it will also lead to wars, violence, jealousy and all the confusion and negativity which has become rampant in the world today. The word Assyrian has as its root the word Asaru, which means seer. Thus this brotherhood and sisterhood requires that all its members observe, perceive, notice, make out, distinguish and bear witness to all of the facts of all of the original scriptures sent to us. 1 Samuel 9:9, before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, thus he spake, Come, and let us go to the seer, for he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. The kind of happiness and brotherhood or sisterhood we are making reference to is not based on always trying to get everything to work out in such a way as to have us receive personal pleasure while running from displeasure. Instead, this kind of happiness is the happiness which comes from being a part of a brotherhood, sisterhood and family that is not caught up on a very insignificant one-sided way of thinking. Thought is energy and energy is power. And it is because all the religions, so-called Western sciences and philosophies with which the world has heretofore been familiar have been based upon the manifestation of this energy, instead of the energy itself, that the world has been limited to effects, while causes have been ignored or misunderstood. For this reason we have God and the devil in religion, positive and negative in science, and good and bad in philosophy. The sacred masters of the Ansarian order instead left us this key that once understood actually reverses the process. Life is expressive, and it is our business to express ourselves harmoniously and constructively. Sorrow, misery, unhappiness, disease and poverty are not necessities, and we are constantly eliminating them. But this process of eliminating consists in rising above and beyond limitation of any kind. Those that have strengthened and purified their thoughts need not concern themselves with mundane issues, and those who have come into an understanding of the law of abundance will go at once to the source of supply. It is thus that fate, fortune, and destiny will be controlled as readily as a captain controls their ship, or an engineer, their train. If you wanted one word that could sum up this brotherhood, the word we would have to give you is overstanding, which in Nuwabic, Galilean, Nabatean, is Tom, and implies that you must overstand yourself, thereby you will be aware of what is happening around you, within you, understanding, and about you, thereby causing you to be fully mindful of what is happening with each passing moment of now. And this will allow you to meditate in such a way that you actually probe into the content of your thoughts. Sometimes you will just be able to do this lightly, and other times you will be able to look further into what you're actually saying to yourself. The Essenes isolated themselves in these communities and adhered to a strict discipline of conduct, ritual purity, and communal living, bound together by living for, of and by each other, and being their brother's keeper. They practiced an ownership of all their property. No one had any individual property. The Essenes showed remarkable hospitality to other members of the order. On the arrival of a visitor, member of the order, of a community elsewhere, they put everything at the visitor's disposal, just as if they were most intimate friends. There was always someone in charge to make sure members from other communities had proper clothing and necessities. The brotherhood faded from the society of the world to an innocent way of living. They were skilled in sowing and planting. Some were herdsmen, taking good care of cattle and swarms of bees for honey. Others worked at handicrafts. Some were writers and healers using roots and herbs. They were able to cast out evil spirits, and some were astrologers and interpreters of dreams. In other parts of the community, they had a laundry, a pottery, a kitchen, a bakery, a mill and food stores. After they received their wages from their occupations, it was given to the treasurers, who brought whatever was necessary and provided food in abundance and anything else which human life required. The Essenes were content with the same conditions. They shunned expensive luxuries. If any one of their members were sick, he was nursed back to health with care. The older men, who were childless, were treated as parents in this closely knitted family. Each Essene was subject to his superiors, and his daily life was governed by orders from above, meaning that they followed the laws of the scriptures. Assistance for one in need and compassion was held to the individual's discretion. Members could, on their own initiation, help the deserving when in need and supply the poor, but the giving of presents to relatives was prohibited among them. The Essene did not condemn marriage on principle, though some avoided it. The non-marrying Essenes adopted other men's children, molded them to be righteous men in accordance with their own principles. The men did not have sexual intercourse with their wives during pregnancy, thus showing their motives in marriage are not self-indulgence, but for the procreation of children. They did not spend a lot of time with their wives, women had their jobs and men had their responsibilities. This is proof that not all Essenes were celibate. The discipline of the Essene was very strict. If one was convicted of a crime, he was immediately expelled from the order. This individual usually became very miserable because he could not partake of another man's food. He fell so low, whereas he would only consume grass, therefore wasting away and dying of starvation. The Essenes practiced daily prayers and worshipped before sunrise, which is the dawn prayer, Salat al-Fajr. No words were uttered besides their prayer of God. They were then dismissed to their various jobs until the next prayer. At the beginning of their meals, they begin by saying a blessing. None can consume any food until the prayer is over. They pay homage to the Creator as the bountiful of life. The word Messiah is found in the Bible, Daniel 9:25-26, John 4:25. In the NWPU, Galilean Nabatean language it is Ba Masih, the anointed, from the root masa, to wipe. In the Hebrew language it is pronounced Mashiach, meaning anointed, from the Hebrew root word mashach, meaning to rub with oil, to anoint. Both root words mean to wipe something clean. Make note that the NWPU, Galilean Nabatean, gave birth to the Arabic and Hebrew languages, which are really one the same, being they both originated from Syriac, which was birthed from NWPU, the first language of the angelic host. If you look at the scripts, you can see this fact. Masa, to wipe off, wipe away something, to rub off something, to wash off something, to wipe out, blot out, erase something, to clean, polish something, to smooth, to anoint someone with, to deprive, dispossess someone of, take away, withdraw from someone or something. Other derivatives of the word masa are mash, wiping, wiping off, cleaning, rubbing, embrocation, anointing, and anointment. And in the Hebrew mashach means to rub with oil, to anoint, to consecrate. The Greek word Messias, Messiah, means anointed, while the Greek word Christos, Christ, means something spiritual. The word Christos, however, is originally from Sanskrit, the ancient script of the 200 fallen angelic beings who were cast from the heavens to earth. One of these fallen angelic beings is called Krishna, which is where the word Christos was derived. Listen to the words Christos, Krishna and Christ, do you hear it? In fact, what most people don't realize is that these two words are in fact Tamarine, ancient African, words found in the language of NWPU, ancient Galilean Nabatean. What is most shocking is the origin of the very name Christ and the title Messiah, which are both originally Tamarine, ancient African, words found orally as Karast and Messa, yet maintaining the same meanings in the Hebrew, Greek and more modern form of Galilean dialects. Both of these words are found in NWPU over 10,500 years ago. What is also important is that you be informed that the word Christ, as it is taught in many churches today who insist on using the Greek without acknowledging what or who influenced the Greek language, is grafted from the Sanskrit Hindu word Krishna, which was taken from the NWPU, ancient African scripts also known as hieroglyphs or cuneiform, word Karast. We stress this factual point because the so-called Greek language is in fact a part of the Indo-European languages, simply Indian languages spoken by European tongues. Realize this, when we say Messiah, Messa or Messa, that was the title he, Yeshua, received when he was anointed, received as a Hidithamistizam, baptism initiation by his cousin Yohanna, John, the baptizer, and Karast was given to him as a member of the mystical Essenic brotherhood, for it Karast, represented being a part of the Karast, falsely called Christ, consciousness. This is shown in the fact that the Tamarine word for a conscious or aware mystic is Karama, with its root being Kara, from where the Hindu language Sanskrit gets its word karma, meaning fate or destiny. The Karast, falsely called Christ, consciousness, is a mentality wherein members of humanity reach a level of awareness whereby you become in tune with, as well as a part of the mental forces working for the mental liberation of humanity in varying degrees of genetic potency. This Karast consciousness is called such as it is the same type of mentality, motivation and sense of responsibility which the Messiah Yeshua Karast had as he worked against the forces of devils in flesh in order to help those of the seed of the Most High Heavenly reach the point of realizing that they too were divine beings in flesh bearing the same powers and responsibilities as he. 1 Peter 1:11, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ which was in them did signify, when it testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ, and the glory that should follow. The phrase in tune comes from metaphysics, which deals with the facts of Tamari that teach each being is actually a receiver having nerve fibers that produce an electrical impulse, and as such the impulse must vibrate on a certain frequency in order to be able to receive that which is being broadcasted on a certain station. Thus the angelic hosts who do exist are vibrating on a certain frequency, and in order for people to be able to perceive them, the human nervous system needs to be tuned in like a TV station, or high-speed server or radio station. This Kharost consciousness is also called within the mystery schools of Tama-Re, ancient Africa, a universal consciousness from which many so-called New Age societies get their use of the same phrase. Even further, we are taught that the universal consciousness of which 9 ether forces are composed first visits the minds of its progeny with the facts, precepts, concepts, formulas, rites, information, and outformation necessary to bring about liberation and self-governance, and then the minds of all others is also visited, especially since to every nation of people the guardians send warners and guides by raising one from amongst their own race and kind. As such, just as we are releasing this information and those like it specifically for the minds of you the Melanonite children called Nubian, African, Caribbean, Latino, Hispanic, Nuwapian, Black, Negro, etc., there are members of the Hindu, Oriental, Pale and Red Arab, and Caucasian race that are also working to raise up the consciousness level of members of their race through their own writings and opinions as things pertain to the mental development of their own kind. The difference, however, is that the members of each of these respective races fully accepts their own authors as the authorities of their story, and most members of our race do not view the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, his scribes, student priests, student priestesses, lecturers, etc., with the same admirations, dedications and loyalty as members of other races view their own. This, along with the fact that when you complete reading the writings of authors and teachers of other racial backgrounds, you are still mortal, slave and servant, meaning you as a dark black, brown, or beige-skinned woolly-haired to wavy-haired individual will never be accepted by the Hindu as being an avatar, a red or pale Arab Muslim as being the Mahdi or Mujaddid, a Caucasian Christian as being Christ, a so-called Jew as being the Mashiach, nor by a Buddhist as being the Golden Child or Enlightened One, etc. No matter which of these religions or philosophies you adhere to or follow, none of them accept you as being the god or goddess that you are, except your original way of life NWPU onto Wusaba. The universal consciousness is the foundation of every atom, or atom which is in existence, because every atom, or atom is constantly working to bring about more life, for each of them regardless of what elemental level they are on are intelligent, yet incomplete within themselves, and as such are always seeking their counterpart that will allow them to become complete and show forth the purpose for which they were created. This precept will bring you into a realization of the universal powers of 9 ether, 6 ether, and Ghost 3 ether of which you are created, made or grafted based on your genetic potency, and when you understand the relationship between the physical realm of existence and the actual inner workings of your very being, especially the mental you, is when you would have made the transition into the family of the Netaru and the Netarat, Orisha. This is because the inner workings of your being are the world of cause, while the physical realm of existence is the world of effect. Thus, in order to change the effect, you must change the cause. So, knowing what you are composed and made of will allow you to control any negative thoughts that may attempt to gain control of your being, thereby better results will occur, allowing for the growth and betterment of humanity. Holy Tablets 6 to 680-83, this was ordained so that man could learn to exercise will. But this injunction was prior to human becoming cognizant of his ability to utilize will, knowingly. For this attribute was an inherent part of human's nature. The universal consciousness is also called a collective consciousness. You see, within the universe there are higher beings that operate and deal only with your mental abilities and conscious worth. These beings, headed by the Igigi, established the Intergalactic Confederation, where various species and races from many worlds and galaxies come together in order to make decisions concerning the welfare of the universe and pass judgment on planets that are up for judgment, as well as keeping the universe balanced by keeping the wicked Luciferians and their seed under control. As worlds or judges, those which pass their judgment are welcomed into the Intergalactic Confederation by way of being mentally qualified. This same thing is now happening with Earth. These masters, known also as the Watchers, have convened on this planet at Mount Shasta in California's Silicon Valley, where they have an entrance to the inner world in order to pass judgment. In order for this planet to pass its judgment, these masters are asking that 144,000 elite beings from your world are raised up to the mental level where they will be able to receive whole light beings, thereby becoming the representatives of your world to the Intergalactic Confederation, adding your planet's experiences, etc. to the universal consciousness, which is in fact very much alive as a reservoir of intellect. The Holy Tablets 16 to 4 226 to 230, that is why there is a hum in the earth. There is a mountain called Shasta that leads to one of the caverns in the inner earth. The mountain was named after a California tribe of Native Americans called Shasta. The computer sends out signals to crafts coming in so that they may come into Earth without being detected. The crafts who don't pay attention to the signal usually get shot right out of the sky by humans. All process of all stages of existence are carried on with a certainty and regularity which would be impossible if there existed the possibility of error. Your mind is so intricately designed that it prepares for you the most important foundations of awareness, while most humans, and humane beings do not have not the slightest understanding as to why things occur as they do. You see, the subconscious soul, like a benevolent stranger, works and makes provision for our benefit. Thus the eventual examination of thought processes shows that the inner consciousness is the foundation through your DNA and RNA of your link to higher realms. It is through the subconscious that good Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York perceived, without effort, great realities and facts which are hidden from the conscious mind of the student. That Neterim Hotep developed his many medicinal formulas, and that the liberator Madiba, Nelson Mandela, held his convictions for 27 years while wrongly incarcerated. You must be made to understand that the ease and perfection with which you complete or carry out a task depends entirely upon the degree in which you cease to depend upon the consciousness. For example, playing the piano, skating, operating the typewriter, the skilled trades, etc., all depend for their perfect execution on the process of the subconscious mind. The marvel of playing a brilliant piece on the piano, while at the same time conducting a vigorous conversation, shows the greatness of our subconscious powers, which allows us to have more than a one-track mind based on the degree of our genetic potency. There is but one consciousness in the universe able to inflect, reflect and think, and when this happens, its thoughts become objective things to it. As this consciousness is omnipresent, it must be present within every individual. Each individual must be a manifestation of that omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent consciousness. As there is only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think, it is only reasonable then that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness, or in other words, all mind is one mind and there is no getting away from this reality. The universal consciousness is the consciousness that focuses your brain cells and is in the brain cells of every other individual, thus making each individual but a mere unit of the universal, the cosmic mind. Consciousness is awareness, realization, perception, and the taking notice of all that you encounter by way of your senses, inclusive of the remnants of the 4 higher senses which you once had. Consciousness allows you to be alert, responsive and attentive while maintaining an understanding, comprehension, and appreciation of the inherent nature of all things within all. The Asarian, Nazarian, brotherhood, the person who thinks they can illuminate the whole range of mental action of the world by the light of their own consciousness, is not unlike the person who walks the world believing they can illuminate the universe with a flashlight. The subconscious mind never sleeps, never rests, any more than does your heart, or your blood. It has been found that by plainly stating to the subconscious mind certain specific things to be accomplished, forces are set in operation that lead to the result desired. Here, then, is a source of power which places us in touch with omnipotence. The operation of this law is interesting. Those of you who put it into operation will find that when you go out to meet the person with whom you anticipate a difficult interview, something has been there before you and dissolved the supposed differences. Everything will be changed, all is harmonious, and you will find that when some difficult business problem presents itself, you will be able to afford to make delay and suggest the proper solution. Everything will be properly arranged. In fact, those who learn this will learn or are learning to put confidence in this higher consciousness and will find that you have infinite resources at their command. The Asarian, Nazarian, brotherhood, it has been determined that each individual may act on the universal consciousness, and that the result of this action and interaction is cause and effect. Thought, therefore, is the cause, and the experiences with which you meet in life are the effect. Eliminate, therefore, any possible tendency to complain of conditions as they have been, or as they are, because it rests with you to change them and make them what you would like them to be. Direct your effort to a realization of the mental resources, always at your command, from which all real and lasting power comes. Persist in this practice until you come to a realization of the fact that there can be no failure in the accomplishment of any proper object in life if you but understand your power and persist in your aims, because the mind forces are ever ready to lend themselves to a purposeful will, in the effort to crystallize thought and desire into actions, events and conditions. Whereas in the beginning of each function of life and each action is the result of conscious thought, the habitual actions become automatic and the thought that controls them passes into the realm of the subconscious. Yet it is just as intelligent as before. It is necessary that it become automatic, or subconscious, in order that the self-conscious mind may attend to other things. The new actions will, however, in their turn, become habitual, then automatic, then subconscious, in order that the mind again may be freed from this detail and advance to still other activities. When you realize this, you will have found a source of power which will enable you to take care of any situation in life which may develop. The subconscious mind is the seat of our principles and our aspirations. It is the source of our creative and unselfish standards. This instinctive nature within us can only be overthrown by an elaborate and gradual process of undermining the innate principles. The subconscious mind cannot argue outwardly. Hence, if it, your subconscious, has been programmed to accept wrong suggestions, the best way of overcoming them is by the use of a strong counter-suggestion, frequently repeated, which the mind must accept, thus eventually forming new and healthy habits of thought and life, for the subconscious mind is the seat of all habits. That which we do over and over becomes mechanical. It is no longer an act of judgment, but has worn its deep grooves in the subconscious mind. Thus, it has a positive result for us only if the habit is natural and accurate. The normal functions of the subconscious on the physical side have to do with the regular and vital processes, with the preservation of life and the restoration of health, with the care of offspring, which includes an instinctive desire to preserve all life and improve conditions. Because the subconscious is a part of the universal consciousness, and as a part it must be the same in category and quality as the whole, the only difference is one of degree. The whole, as we know, is creative. In fact, it is the only creator there is, and as a result, we find that mind is creative. And as thought is the only activity which the mind possesses, thought must essentially be creative also. You will however find that there is a vast difference between simply thinking and directing our thought consciously, systematically and constructively, for when you do this you place your mind in harmony with the universal consciousness and are placed in tune with the infinite realm of mental consciousness, thereby setting into motion the mightiest force in existence, the creative power of the universal mind. This, as everything else, is governed by natural law, and this law is the law of attraction, which is that mind is creative, and will automatically link with its purpose and bring this purpose into manifestation. Conscience is a moral sense of right and wrong, thereby producing proper and just actions, deeds, thoughts and results. You should all be aware of how dependent we are upon the subconscious, and how the greater, the nobler, and the more darkened our thoughts are, the more it is obvious to ourselves that their origins lay beyond our understanding. The key is to not seek to separate ourselves from our DNA and RNA link to the etheric realm. Have you ever asked yourself how is it that humanity finds itself endowed with tact, instinct, sense of the beauty in art, music, etc.? The value of the subconscious is enormous as it inspires us, it warns us, it furnishes us with names, facts and scenes from the storehouse of memory. It directs our thoughts, tastes, and accomplishes tasks so intricate that no conscious mind, even if it had the power, has the capacity for. You can walk at will, you can raise your arms whenever you choose to do so, you can give your attention through eye or ear to any subject at will. On the other hand, you cannot stop your heartbeats or the circulation of the blood through your body, or the growth of stature, or the formation of nerve and muscle tissue, nor the building of the bones, nor many other important vital processes. Of these two powers, the outward and changeable has been termed the conscious mind, or the objective mind, dealing with outward objects. The interior power is called the subconscious mind, or the subjective mind, and besides its work on the mental plane it controls the regular functions which make physical life possible. It is necessary to have a clear understanding of their respective functions on the mental plane, as well as of certain other basic principles. Perceiving and operating through the five physical senses, the conscious mind deals with the impressions and objects of the outward life. It has the faculty of discrimination, carrying with it the responsibility of choice. It has the power of reasoning, whether inductive, deductive, or analytical, and this power may be developed to a high degree, for it is the seat of will with all the energies that permeate from within. Holy Tablets 11:45-22-23, and round about were Sarufaat, Garubat, and Ophanan, and these are they who sleep not, and guard the throne of his glory. Not only can it impress other minds, but it can direct the subconscious mind. In this way the conscious mind becomes the responsible ruler and guardian of the subconscious mind. It is this high function which can completely reverse conditions in your life. It is often true that conditions of fear, worry, poverty, disease, disharmony and problems of all kinds control our lives thus due to false suggestions accepted by the unguarded subconscious mind, yet all of these aspects of your being, the trained conscious mind can entirely prevent by its attentive shielding action. You may properly call this portion of your being the guardian of the gate of the great subconscious realm.